Okay, you're on.
Good morning, Westminster. Good morning, Carol.
Good
Good morning,
morning.
Boyd, and good morning, Judy
Good
Skaggs.
morning. Good
Hello,
morning.
everybody. Hi, how are you?
Yeah, everybody's good, I guess. Hey, I have a question for all of you. What's white and cold and soft and comes to Austin maybe every 15 years or so?
Is it a male or female?
I can't tell by looking. Come
I'm
on,
gonna
you
say,
guys.
I'm gonna guess snow.
I'm gonna say you're
Yay!
right. You're right. Yeah. So what's your experience with snow, Boyd?
Oh, well, when Kitty and I first married, we moved to Amarillo in the Texas Panhandle. I went to work for Phillips Petroleum Company there in their legal department. And the first winter that we were there, we had one of these late winter snowstorms, and it blew in and it started snowing on Friday night, and it snowed all day Saturday and all day Sunday. And when we woke up, got out of the house on Monday morning, there were 6-foot snow drifts. There was snow everywhere. I'd never seen so much snow in my life. And so we got out and we played in the snow and made snowmen. And another lawyer that lived next door also worked for Phillips. They came out and their kid, and we just had so much fun. And so around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we got a call from the office, and they said, "Where are you?" And we said, "Well, we're snowed in." And they said, "No, you're not. You're not snowed in. Everybody else is here. So get yourself on down here." So by 4 o'clock, we had to go to the office. So that was my introduction to a panhandle snowstorm. What looked like a completely impenetrable blizzard to us was just another day in Amarillo.
Well,
You have a snow story, Ken, don't you?
Don't you have a snow story?
Well, when I was in Washington, we had a blizzard much like yours. I was a student in Washington, but I had a job at the Capitol Senate office building as a guard. And we had one of those really, really horrible snows, and there's no traffic. And it was at night, and I was getting ready to go home. They let us all go home a little early. And I was going out. I had a little TR3. I don't know if you know, that's a little sports car, 2-seater.
Yeah.
And I was going out the door, and Senator Hubert Humphrey came running and says, "I got to catch a train and I can't get a cab. I can't get a ride. What can I do?" I said, "Well, come on, I'll take you." So he managed to get his briefcase and his overnight case and squeeze into this damn little car. And we drove down to Union Station, not that far. There wasn't a single car or anywhere. It was just all this snow, but the little car didn't have trouble. So we drove into the station. He said, "Keep going, keep going." So then we drove onto the passenger platform, and we're passing up passengers who are getting off the train. And he got there just in time to take the New York Central as it was pulling out of the station. And so that was my story. And I asked him about it when he was in Austin, when he was running for president sometime later. He said, "I just don't remember anything about that." Anyway.
What a politician. You think he would pretend to not remember anyway.
Right.
What about
when
you,
I
Carol?
think of snow, I remember a time some years ago when we were at our Colorado house with kids and grandkids after Christmas, and we had a good snow there. So I said, "Y'all go outside and do something, play in this. We're from Texas, don't see it much." They went out there and they started building a snowman, and I thought, well, that's a great thing for them to do. And I kept trying to walk out, and they said, "No, don't come out yet. Don't come out yet." And they kept building it, and finally they came out and they all grins and they said, "Okay, come look." And I went out there, and they were all giggling. They're all about teenagers then, the grandkids were. And they had built the closest replica to Dolly Parton you can imagine, very anatomically correct for female. And I mean, it really, you could tell it was Dolly Parton immediately. And we noticed, it was so funny though, I had to laugh. We noticed that cars coming up our country road would kind of slow, maybe back up a little or slow down and keep looking at it. So that's
You were on
what
a
I
snow
remember.
tour. Yeah, that's
There
great.
was a lot of laughs, yeah. And Dolly stayed there for several days before she kind of melted away. But anyway, it was a fun time.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Judy.
Judy, tell us before we get started hearing a lot of explanations on your committee, which is what we want to hear. Kind of your background, where you're from, and things like that. Everybody knows you, I'm sure, but we'd like to hear some of that.
Okay. Well, I grew up in West Texas, a little bitty town of El Dorado, and it was a great place to grow up. And as I think about my background, probably the two things besides my family that have influenced me more than anything else are the church and music. And so I started playing the piano early, and then started playing the piano in church, in our little Presbyterian church, when I was 11. And so those two things have kind of intermingled my whole life. And when we moved to Austin, we joined Covenant Presbyterian, and they were without an organist. So I started playing the organ there and played for 20 years. And then ended up in seminary and graduated from seminary the same year my youngest child graduated from high school. So then I've had a really wonderful late life career in the ministry, and I just have had a great time. And so those two things still continue to sort of be the things that give me energy and that's really my passion. So that's sort of it.
And you have another instrument now too, don't you?
Oh, yes. When I retired, there was in the back of my mind, for some reason, I'd always wanted to play cello. And so I just said, well, pooey, and went and got a cello and found a teacher. And so I'm not very good, but I sure have a good time with it. And I think it's keeping me going. So anyway, yes.
Great.
Love
Well,
the
Boyd, you got Judy interested in a committee here that you all began. Isn't that right?
Yes, Judy and I discussed the possibility of having a committee that would offer residents opportunities to explore different faiths, and we call it the Interfaith Committee, and Judy's been the chair of that since it was formed over a year ago, I guess a year and a half now. Judy, is that about right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she's until she has a lot of interesting programs, and of course the pandemic has made some of those difficult to continue until things return to normal. But Judy, tell us about the how you see the Interfaith Committee here at Westminster.
Well, our world is changing all the time. And even here in Austin, we find ourselves being neighbors with people of all different faiths. We run into them, when we're shopping, we work with them. We here at Westminster, they're all over the place. There are people that work here or live here. And so we just thought it would be really helpful for people to learn more about different world religions, different worldviews, both culturally and spiritually. And so we got a group together to kind of brainstorm what we might do that would give people opportunities to learn more. And so we started doing that, and I think we were having a great time with it. And then, as y'all know, Mr. COVID came along and kind of interrupted all of that. But one of the things that we discovered is this organization, IACT, IACT, Interfaith Action of Central Texas. And they do so much in this community to further dialogue and learning about various faiths. And so one of the things that our group did is start going to this monthly meeting called the Red Bench. And here's my little show and tell about Red Bench, if you can see that.
We can see it, yeah.
Yeah.
And Ruth got us a bus even. So we had a bus full of people that once a month would go to these meetings. They were held in various religious places, either churches, synagogues, temples, and etc. We went to one over at the Jewish temple, just our neighbors right over on Shoal Creek. We went to one out at the Buddhist temple on 360. We went to the Baha'i Center. We went to St. Austin's Catholic, a Methodist church, I believe. I can't remember where all we went, but each month they choose a different venue, and we have dinner together, and then there's a topic for discussion. And some of the topics are really deep, you know, about race relations or interdenominational things. And then some would be a little lighter, like one night we discussed aging. Now we all had something to say about that, I guess. But
That's a very ecumenical topic, I'm
it's
sure.
a very ecumenical topic. But you sit at tables and there'll just be a variety of people there with all sorts of faith traditions or no faith tradition. You know, people are welcome no matter what. And you just hear from different points of view about the particular topic for the night. And it's very orderly the way they have you do your discussion. So we were really enjoying that. And then all of a sudden we couldn't go anymore. If any of you are interested, the Red Bench is still meeting virtually once a month. I think there's one next Tuesday night. And you just have to go to the IACT website and it will direct you to that if you are interested in trying it out online.
Do you happen to know? Do you happen to know what the topic is for next week?
I don't. I should, but I'm sorry I don't know that.
They're usually pretty topical.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know the one I went to, I believe, was during some of the protest, Black Lives Matter
Mhm.
protests, and so
Mhm.
we had a discussion of, I can't remember how the topic was phrased, but it was something like tolerance or
Yes.
tolerance
Yes.
and understanding. And
Mhm.
I sat at the table with people, of course, I didn't know, and they were all from different religious backgrounds. People who, you know, were Indian or Pakistani or and then Presbyterians and Methodists. So there was
Mhm.
a mixture, and I think I enjoyed hearing people's views on the topic. And then we had a summary. It was very well organized, and I think the police chief was there, and there was some. It was really a meaningful experience for me.
Judy, what was the relevance of the name Red Bench? What did that mean?
Oh yeah. Well, many of you know the name Betty Sue Flowers.
UT.
It was a UT forever, and Betty Sue is the one that came up with the idea of a red bench, and so they stole it from her. But she just said the red bench means you're ready for a serious conversation. And she said every building in town ought to have a red bench out front. office building, school building, hospital, retirement center, whatever. And if you sit on the red bench, that means you're ready to talk about something serious. And so IACT took her words, and that's where they got the name for this. So
Very
it's
interesting.
fun to think about anyway, that somebody like Ms. Flower, Dr. Flowers would come up with that. So
I think maybe some of the benches we have in the front here promote that, because I will see
Mhm.
somebody from Westminster sitting there and somebody else come up and sit next to them. So
mhm,
it's a
Yeah,
great concept.
yeah.
So if you sit on the red bench, that means I'm ready to have a serious conversation. Who
That's
chooses the
right.
topic? How does that work?
That's right. Well, this little thing I showed you says interfaith conversations that matter. So perhaps that's also another way of defining what the organization does, is they bring up topics that would be apropos to any faith or no faith, you know. Ken, I think when we were talking, you said, what did I see as something common to every religion? And I think there's a lot in common with kindness. Do unto
I think we lost you for a minute there, Judy.
we treat each other with respect and with kindness
Passion.
and openness. You know, I remember in my religion class in seminary,
Well,
We lost you for a minute there, Judy. Why don't we come back to you, because I know you have you also have a Church Women United that visit the jails, the women's jails, and have a program there. It'd be nice to know what that is. What do you think, Boyd?
yeah. Judy, can you hear us? Well,
Something about this program.
yeah, there is. It was going very well too, I thought.
Well, she says they're also going to do an Ash Wednesday observance, the 17th of February here in the chapel, which I think would be very interesting for people to know. And she also has a book that she recommends by Karen Armstrong
Yeah,
called The Lost Art of Scripture. And this particular book was featured on TED Talks. And she has a lecture on TED Talks, and Judy said she's just fabulous.
There she is.
can you hear us?
sorry, my internet went down. For
Listen, we were just talking about your jail.
Where were we?
On your visiting women in jail.
The Church Women United group who do the jail
Oh, yeah.
ministry.
Judy.
Yes. It's with
So, and also she said a series.
can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can now. But
Go ahead.
so tell us
Okay.
about the book, the Karen Armstrong book.
The Art of Scripture.
A book study, The Lost Art of Scripture by Karen Armstrong.
Yeah,
And we had one meeting and it was great. We had about 15 or 18 people, and then COVID interfered with that again. So hopefully we can get back to that at some point.
You do like a chapter of
I think I also, yeah, it's it's a pretty heavy book study, but anyway, we'll learn
Right.
something.
And
I also mentioned that Dr. Whit Bodman from Austin Presbyterian Seminary came and did a couple of lectures for us, and he's willing to do some more. So we may get a Zoom program going with him this spring, and hopefully we can do some more where he can do some more presentations on
Well,
world
tell us
religions.
about the Ash Wednesday program that you have set up for the Westminster Chapel.
Well, I guess that's not going to happen
Oh,
now that we're shut down again. Unfortunately, we were hoping to do a very ecumenical Ash Wednesday service on the 17th of February. So we're just on hold for that. Thank you for asking, though.
Well, we'll keep on it.
so,
Yeah. And just for new people, just so you know, under ordinary circumstances, there's several groups that meet monthly. There's a Methodist group, an Episcopal group that usually has communion, Catholic communion, Presbyterian fellowship. There's a Jewish Shabbat that's once a month. And then we have Vespers, which is for anybody on Sunday afternoons at 4. And we're going to try to keep that going, even though we aren't going to be able to have outside preachers for a while.
And that's
So
in the chapel, right?
tune in to 8:90.
Is that in the chapel, all of those different?
I think
groups?
they're all in the chapel. And of course, Vespers is
Yeah.
on 1890 at 4 o'clock on Sunday.
Yeah,
Are you preaching? Are you preaching at Vespers?
yeah. As of this recording, I will have preached yesterday.
Oh, that's too much for us to
How did
figure
it go?
out. Yeah, I thought you did great.
Oh, it was great. It
That
was
was
good.
really great, yeah.
Yeah, you were wonderful, Judy.
Well, I'm sorry we had that interruption, but
Well, I'm too.
I just want to say on behalf of all of us that we appreciate all the hard work you're doing and the leadership role you've taken here, because I think it's important for the residents to have an opportunity to learn about other faiths and to find the similarities that we all have with as human beings, and no matter what our religious what religion we profess. As you said a moment ago, there are more similarities than there are differences between us all.
Right.
absolutely.
Well, thank you, Judy. We really appreciate your sharing all that information with us. And
We're glad to know about the Vespers program. And what else is going on, Boyd?
Well, tonight there's a panel on channel 18 on 1890 at 7 o'clock about the craft of writing fiction, and I'm moderating that program, and Janice Scheffelman and Carol Sykes and Jim Simons are panelists, and we just talk about why people write fiction, how you get started, how you go about it, and what some of the pitfalls are and what some of the tricks are of the trade. So I hope that anybody that's interested in writing fiction will tune in. And we also are making a pitch for people, for writers to dust off the manuscripts they have in their desk drawer and look at them for the fall edition, for the spring edition, spring of 2021 of the Writer's Journal, because there's an opportunity there to see your work in print. Ken, I know you've had a couple of really great stories in the Writer's Journal.
And that's at 7 o'clock tonight, right?
That's right, 7
Okay.
o'clock. And then there are good movies all week. Godfather Part 3. I think you probably need to see Godfather Part 1 and 2, but maybe not. There's a great movie, The Devil Wears Prada, if you remember that. And then there's a movie, the musical Oklahoma, which has some really great music in it despite its title. And then on Thursday at 1 p.m., here's a program that you do not want to miss, Ken, as a restaurateur and being so knowledgeable about food and food preparation. It's you want me to tell you what it is?
Sure.
Yeah, well, it's the the Armchair Astronomers program at 11 o'clock this coming Thursday, and its title is Cannibals in Astronomy, What's for Lunch?
Yeah. Tell me your joke.
Well, I have a one-liner for that. The cannibals were sitting around the fire eating their supper, and one of them said, I thought Aunt Mary was coming.
We're having her over for lunch.
I thought we were having Aunt Mary for dinner.
Lunch, yeah.
And the other one said, we are. Okay, it doesn't get any worse, so I guess we should shut down here.
All right, well, I guess we've come to the end of our time. Judy Skaggs, we really appreciate your being with us today. Thank you for
Thank you.
suffering
It was
through
fun. Yeah.
all the perils of recording at Westminster, but we really thank you again. And
Thank you, Judy, and for all your work. We really appreciate you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.